What's up, everybody out there in the Frontline universe? I'm Chris, he's Mike, and welcome back to another Dark Avenger comic book review for books that came out last week.
Yep. The week of October 26, 2016. The last week of October.
Yeah, we're a week behind. We had a lot of books.
Too many books, if you ask me.
Definitely going to be working on that pile coming... Honestly, I don't even want to wait till January. I think coming December we're going to be working on a few. And there's actually one book that's going to be off the list starting today that I took a look at. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But this book was not released this week.
Right.
And we're starting off with that book. But it is one of Michael's all-time favorites.
And that would be Sorority of Power, issue number 11. Finally, the issue that I've been waiting for weeks because I always am interested in reading Danson's book, who is the writer of Argo Comics. That is a website, argocomics.com. And this issue, first of all, Miss Molecule is visiting her family, so she's not on the Sorority of Power team. So it's just basically the three girls. And we get a little bit of a backstory of, I forgot what her name was, with... I can't remember her name. Like we get some backstory of certain characters, and we also get this one scene at the end of the story where Cybersuit and Muska went to the laboratory where Dr. Monty wanted to do an experiment of their powers. And when things got a little bit out of control with the ball that was going around and trying to stop it, like after... It was like cut off a mid-sentence saying, I guess this is, and I just said, the end. So I'm like, the end of this comic book? I mean... The
comic. Dan is... Yeah, it's not...
Oh, I didn't know this was the last issue.
No, not the last issue. It was the end of the book.
Oh, I thought it was the last issue, because I was about to
Mike,
say...
they ended Sorority of Power.
Sorority of Power gets 5 giggity goose stars, you know? I mean, I gotta give it that respectful rating. There are some... Actually, not that many innuendos, really, as you know, normally. But I like the story of the backstory of the characters. Even Miss Molecule's a character, and the pinups, as always, are always amazing to check out. So I would say definitely check this out. It's a really amazing issue, and yeah. So
absolutely, I love Argo 5 each and every time I read it.
Yep. Alright, so
I thought we'd have the physical book by now, but apparently the Amazon box still has not come from 2 weeks ago, which has me a little concerned. Hopefully both will show up maybe at the same time. But Revolution Action Man's one shot. Action Man saves Cup from Mask and G.I. Joe. I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed how he never was in America before, Action Man, until he had this mission, and he saves Cup. The dialogue between Action Man and Cup was phenomenal. Like, there was a scene where Cup was like, I don't like humans. And he's like, I don't like the humans too much either myself. And it was funny, and he helps Cup escape. They escape. And actually, I like how, I forgot his name from G.I. Joe. He asked the leader of Mask, are you 100% sure that the Cybertronians are bad? And he's like, I cannot confirm it. And he's like, damn it. And he allowed Cup to escape by causing attempting to try to stop him, but not really. So it allowed Cup and Action Man to escape. I thought it was really good, and I'm really excited to see where Revolution's going. And as a matter of fact, there was another Revolution book this week, which was Transformers.
Wait, you want me to do that?
Yeah, might as well.
Oh, alright, well, I had it out of order, but alright.
Transformers. This one focused on Thundercracker, and I forgot who this was a long time ago, the leader of the American Army that was working with him. And apparently that's where the bad guys,
Autobots?
No, not the Autobots, not the Transformers, the Dire Wraiths. The Wraiths attempt to attack the president. It's up to Thundercracker and the woman to protect the president and this suitcase, which is very, very important. And it was a phenomenal issue. It was really cool, and it was the first time I actually liked this woman who was against the Transformers, but Thundercracker and her, it was a good read. I didn't think I would like it. I should have just grabbed it with Action Man. Good news is we got that physically. It's coming with this week's books for the first week of November. I'm hoping to get the last week of October's, because not only do we have those, but we have the other Lady Death book in that box, and I don't know where it is. I'm unable to track it. Thank you, Midtown. If I don't get it by this week, I will contact Midtown and see what's up, but that's a gripe for another day. Alien Defiance, issue number 6. Wow. So, the main character, the cyborg, and the doctor attempt to escape the station. You got the army fighting against the aliens and trying to bring back a sample, which they do get a sample and bring it back to their ship. The others escape. Something happens with the doctor, though. We don't know what, but she didn't get implanted with a facehugger on in the comic or at any point that we saw, but they escape. As a matter of fact, they blow up the army ship so nobody can take back anything of the aliens. And then by the end of the issue, it turns out that the doctor wants to scan her body to make sure. And I'm wondering if she was actually implanted and how that's going to affect what happens next. Really good book, good artwork, and interesting story for sure. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 8, is it? Issue number 8. Jason and Tommy versus the Dark Dragon, while the others find out that Alpha 5 is still around or is still able to communicate with the Rangers. Jason and Tommy try to get to Rita's base in order to save Billy. Unfortunately, the Dark Dragon, or whatever his name is, makes that impossible. Tommy is able to fight the dragon. We find out that he hesitates when he gets ready to kill Tommy, but that's what allows him and Jason to escape and go back to Earth. Billy is still a prisoner, just like Goldar. Rita is questioning the Dark Dragon guy now. And Tommy, with the hand, because they fought the Dark Dragon and ripped his arm off, they took the arm back to try to figure more out about him. He used the hand in order to give the other Rangers, because his coin is not part of their Morpher power. So since the dragon stole their powers from Billy, he was going to give the Rangers some of his power because his power is so immense. So he reached out and gave it to them. He lost his suit, but now all the other Rangers got their powers back, but they're all green. That was really cool. I found that very interesting, and I like that Zach apologized for giving Tommy a hard time, and he's the one that actually gave Tommy the idea about using his coin to give the other Rangers back their powers. It's going to be real interesting to see where this goes, and we all know that Boom Studios is going to be teaming up with DC Comics very soon to do the Justice League Power Ranger crossover. Those we will be getting physically. I'm looking forward to that immensely. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Skybourne issue number 2, I liked it. The last issue, the girl who died, was this guy, Thomas's sister. And they're immortal and indestructible, and nothing can kill them. And he's the guy that actually fell out of the plane at the very beginning of the first issue. Because he wanted to escape it all. He wanted to find a method or a way to kill himself. Because he hated being immortal. He lost his wife. He's seen a lot of tragedy. He was done. And what happens is, the place that he used to work for, the Vatican, reaches out to him because his sister was killed. They don't know by what, and they want him to come back to work for them. And what happens is they're not running, the Vatican isn't running the corp anymore, so instead of eliminating the magical items and beasts, they're capturing them and holding them. And he doesn't really agree to that, but unfortunately the Vatican broke up and the people took it over, and they want profit, and he doesn't really like it too much, but he wants to find out who killed his sister and what killed his sister. And he decides to go back, and he's tested. He's he's obviously way out of shape. He hasn't done it for 23 plus years. So I guess he's going to have to get back in shape. And then we find out that the wizard that killed his sister in the last issue wants to basically bring Earth back to the ruling of something, and he releases a dragon.
Wow. So
it's going to be interesting to see what happens next there.
Speaking of dragons, Savage Dragon, issue number 217. where Savage Dragon's still teaming up with Ant and Spawn, or is it the Ant from the Spawn?
I don't know. Whatever.
Well,
the name
anyway, so what I got from this issue, first of all, Savage Dragon and Spawn, they do not get along together because
the other
Spawn,
Savage Dragon and Spawn, I thought did.
They did. But Spawn believes, in all killing and everything because that it does justice right. Whereas Malcolm says, no, it's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that because that's not the way that we should handle crimes and stuff like that. So what they do is that they're going to meet the boss in hell, obviously. And all three of them go there. But he's like very, very powerful against them. That in the end of this issue, Spawn and Ant disappeared, and we don't know where they disappeared to.
And we find out in Spawn's next issue.
That, or I think the next issue of Savage Dragon. It didn't say to be continued where.
I think it's Spawn. It said to come back for Spawn.
It did say come back for Spawn. Maybe it'll be in Spawn. Or maybe they'll show their perspective of where they were, and then Malcolm's perspective of where he is. It could be that.
And then come back again.
Probably. Grimm Fairy Tales Apocalypse, Part 3 of 5. Now, this one was very interesting. From what we saw in the last issue, that Robin Hood and Marion had their separation apart and everything. Like, now they have to fight off against the Apocalypse. And we find out the leader of the Apocalypse and what her plans are to take over the city and everything. So as Robin and the army are trying to get ready and everything, there was one part in the story where Hades wasn't really feeling well. Like, he's on his deathbed of not surviving. So when he finds out Angelica was part of the whole thing, his daughter, and when she turned out for the worst, Hades came in action to get her and says, you know what, you fight your own battles and save the world yourselves, we're done. So he just takes off with Angelica, so now it's Robin's team, which aren't really too many. So I don't know if there's going to be a whole thing where they might come back, but the way Hades went out after seeing what they did to his daughter, I don't know. It's getting to that point where we're going to find out what happens. Wonderland finale, that's really what it's called.
50, I believe.
Oh, it just said Wonderland finale on the
finale.
Well, it's a finale. And basically the finale is showing where where Violet and Callie,
you're right, they didn't put the number in, but it is 50.
Well, it's basically where Violet, who's going through, that whole Mad Hatter thing still, she's getting all these nightmares and stuff like that, and she's trying to figure out why. And as the book continues, they get into this new house with a mirror. Now, this mirror is the one that could lead them to Wonderland. And from that mirror, the queen that comes out of there, off with their heads and stuff like that, wants to get rid of the Lytle name. Okay. So what she does is that it looks like that Violet dies. I mean, she does die, but then Callie said, in order to bring her back, you win. You want to take over Wonderland. It's all yours. Just bring my daughter back to life and just, do what you need to do in Wonderland. Which basically signified last issue. But I thought the end was going to have a question mark because it looks like that, of course, Violet came back to life. But something tells me that there's going to either be a different volume or a different story arc that relates to Wonderland to see how that's all going to... Because the way the ending was really unexpected, but that queen sure got her ways of taking over Wonderland, but what a...
So I guess the Littles are now back to being just normal people, period.
Basically, I mean, Callie's
not
the
white
Cheshire
queen anymore.
Cat? Cheshire Cat was in it. Oh, you mean he's just a regular cat form?
Oh, now he's a cat now?
I mean, he was a big form and everything, but when everything got back to normal, he went to regular size.
And he stayed with the Littles.
He stayed with the Littles, exactly. And tried to warn him about the mayor and what's going on when they got it. Street Fighter Legends Cammy, issue number 4. So in this one, they're still going after Bison with the whole mind control powers and everything. And the leader of the Shadow, which I can't remember what his name is.
Shadow Law.
The Shadow Law? Oh, it's at Shado somewhere.
All right, well, let's say Shado then.
Well, yeah. Basically, the guy does the experiment on Jury for vengeance against Bison, and he has the experiments of Cammy and the team from the laboratory. So, really love the artwork and the action that's shown in here. And Sea Viper is on their side to help save Jury. But Bison, when he comes in the mix to face off against Cammy and his team, like, he's, like, really super strong and everything. But as the issue continued, well, let's just say that the future does...
so this is the last issue.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it looks like the last issue. Because
I thought it was
the
5
end here.
issues.
I thought so too, actually. Mm-hmm. And then we go to Hong Kong, where it talks about, I know these two fighters, like where Jin helps the two fighters to seek out these ghosts and demons and stuff, and how he
This is going to come
them.
once Street Fighter
Yeah, this one I'm going to look into, the Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers, I think they're called.
Yeah, when does it say it's coming?
It's an
8-issue series.
I think it's coming out next month. I heard.
I didn't see it. Maybe in January, because we didn't order January yet. We gotta still look.
Yeah. But, it was an interesting story. I mean, I would say get trade paperback to get more about to get the team information of Cammy, but it was worth the read, so I'd say to give it a try if you're a Cammy or a Street Fighter fan. This I review for Comic Frontline, Sonic Universe issue number 91. This is Case of the Pirate Princess, part 1 of 4. I want to say 4, but I think it's 4.
Either 4 or 3.
Yeah, it says so in the back. 4 parts. I was right. So this is where it's the Team Chaotix, Vector, SBO, and Bumblebee, who is on the Case of the Missing Princess, where, what's her name? Echo, or Lieutenant Echo, actually comes in and says that if you find it, the king and queen will give you a pay rate for it. And of course, when you hear dollar signs from Vector, you know, of course, that's going to be that. So they check the docks and underwater, and we meet up with Razor, or Razor, from issues before, where he knows some of these things, and then in the end, of course, we see the pirates and possibly the princess that is on board with those pirates. And that's to be continued for that. So, looking forward to seeing how the next case is going to go for Team Chaotix.
Chew issue number 59. Only one... Stupid light. 59. Only one issue to go after this. I am not a fan of this cover, but I like the issue. Amelia ends up sacrificing herself in order to write the script that if Tony reads it, he will cause the same chaotic outcome that happened the last time, where whoever eats chicken basically dies, but it reverses the skywriting, which will save the Earth. And what happens is he's having a hard time dealing with Amelia's death. He's having a hard time dealing with everything. So he gets put on a case, and he goes on a case, and his partner kind of does things a little bit too hardcore, but he says, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to kill you for doing it. You need to in order to save the world. And I love how the revelation was the story that Amelia wrote was not about the detective, but about the detective's daughter, and how in the end it was like basically their happy ending that unfortunately never happened because Amelia passed away. It sends the signal out, people die, the skywriting disappears, and Cho saves the world. However, his best friend had eaten chicken as well, so not only did he lose Amelia, but he lost his best friend John as well. Now, the next issue, as you can see from the back, involves his daughter, so I'm guessing that this is going to be his final issue, or like it's going to be basically the passing of the torch by the next issue, and I'm wondering, now I'm probably wrong, but I'm wondering if John Layman might do a volume 2 of Chew, but not of Detective Cho, but his daughter. I would completely and utterly be down for that one for sure, but I don't know if he's going to do that. But it'd be interesting if he did one-shots every once in a while. That would be cool.
Street Fighter Unlimited issue number 11.
Speaking of Street Fighter.
We see where Gil is now part of Alex's body now. And Evil Ryu is still in that crystal. So now it's all the Street Fighters that are going up against Lord Gil in the spirit of Alex in the spirit of Lord Gil. So I like this scene where Ryu faces the evil Ryu during that stage of mine, like trying to snap him out of it. And as you can tell, he learned how to control it where he's half evil and half himself, actually.
And the scar on his chest is gone.
And the scar on his chest is gone. So now he fights off against Alex. And it's like a really intense fight where Lord Gil escapes from him. But now in the end, he meets up with Akuma in a way that his power awoken as well. I really just love that transformation that they did there. So that's going to be a fight I want to see. And then it gets to another story about just Lord Gil and how he's just trying to reshape the universe. And that's going to actually be continued in Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers. So
they're setting us up for it. What does this say? Next issue, Akuma Unleashed.
Yeah. And then that's the next issue of Unlimited. I
know, I'm waiting to see if it's a finale or not.
We'll have to see. But, really great stuff for, I just liked how Ryu went now half Ryu and half Evil Ryu. So weird how I'm saying Ryu and Ryan now since that Smash Brothers thing came out. It sounds weird too when I say it.
Birthright, issue number 20. I really love this issue. The grandfather basically goes all out to save his grandson. He releases the dragon from the last issue, but the dragon is not what saves them. He uses the dragon as a distraction so that they can escape. They escape only to find that Samuel was followed by, I forgot what his friend's name was. Oh, Enoch. And unfortunately, the grandfather makes the choice to kill Enoch, which kills another wizard, which makes the connection to Earth even weaker. The other one, what's his name? I don't remember what this wizard's name was, but he ends up capturing Mikey and taking Mikey to be judged by whatever her name is, Massima. And it turns out Massima actually has the mother and... Mistima, has the mother and I forgot the girlfriend's name, but she's staying until she finds out what's going on with Mikey, and we find out the biggest twist of fate here, guys. Ready for this? King Lore looked exactly like Mikey at one time. Mistima actually tells, what's her name, that Tyrannos' hero already came, that the legend had already come to pass, that they believed that it didn't, but it already had. So they were living with false hope. And the biggest twist is that Lore is Mastima's father. That's how she knows that he was the prophesized savior of Tyrannos, and Mikey was just a false hero. But I don't believe that's true. I believe that Mikey might actually still be a part of something, but we also find out that Mikey is still under the deep control of the Nevermind, and he's using his capture as a way to get to Mestima in order to allow Lore to come to Earth, and we find out that the person that trained Mikey is still alive as well. Man, oh man, oh man, this was awesome. And then I want to make sure, yeah, this is the last issue for the next couple of months. We will not be seeing Birthright. I have to make sure all the time because every time it ends with a cliffhanger. But I love how the writer leaves you a little bit of a note on the side here. And he said if this issue left you breathless, you got a couple of months to recover. It's our intention to it was our intention to overload you with a new info and reveals. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next in Birthright in a couple of months. Usually they take about 2 to 3 months off, and then they come back, and every chapter is 10 issues, or 5, no, I'm sorry, every chapter is about 5 issues long. First volume, the first 5 books I got in trade paperback. This is, I believe, it's the 4th volume, I believe now. because we're in the 20s. So, Saga, issue 39. So, the Spirit Girl is dead, or at least that's what we're led to believe for right now. Marcos wants to make sure. Hazel actually has a moment in this book. The Will gets fired. He is no longer a assassin. Hazel has a nice moment in this book, which is interesting. And it turns out this guy finds out something that's going to happen on the comet they're at, but they don't know. But I say they because he has two heads, but they don't know when it's going to happen. This is a book that goes, I believe, every 10 issues. So the next issue should be the last for this arc, and then I'm sure that Saga itself will be going on a hiatus. So I think next month's issue is going to be the hiatus. We'll know when we do our previews for January. But man, oh man, both books were awesome. And TMNT Universe issue number 3. Now this book continues with them being stuck in Stockman's building, and you've got I forget what his name is that's stalking the turtles. Jeez, what's his name? Jeez, whatever his name was, the agent. I know that my niece Bravo is yelling the hell out of me right now for this, but she thinks the lieutenant thinks that he's going a bit too far in order to capture the turtles. You got Donnie who wakes up and gets caught up. You got the turtles who are fighting, to protect themselves. We find out that April's the only one, and Baxter, but he doesn't leave. But April's able to escape the building in order to warn somebody. We don't know who. She ends up getting shot though in this issue. But she ends up continuing to run. Jeez, why can't I really hate that I can't remember his name. Yeah, I hate that I can't remember his name. But the lieutenant gets arrested, and now the turtles have to deal with this guy who now brought in the entire army because he's completely insane and thinks that the turtles and the mutants need to be captured before a real war breaks out. And then you get a little bit more. You get like 3 pages more of Leonardo's fight against things. I don't even know. But yeah, that was this issue. TMNT Universe, I felt like it could have been a strong book, but honestly, for the $5 price tag, I cannot recommend it. Just because for $5, I expect a little bit more. I expect it to be either on par or a little bit better than the main series because you're asking for that extra $2. For Turtle fans, obviously, like myself, this is worth it. It's $5, whatever. We get it at a discount from DCBS, and it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, I'm not going to not get it. But if you're a casual Turtle fan, for $5, if you go to your local comic shop, this book is under par from the regular series. It needs to be on or above par, and it just doesn't meet that criteria. A $3.99 book is better than a $5 book. That says something. So unfortunately, I leave it up to how much of a fan of Turtles you are. If you're a huge fan, you'll get it. If you're not a huge fan or casual, I won't recommend it either. This gets only an honorable mention because I did not finish reading it yet. Wonder Woman 75th Anniversary Special. If you're a Wonder Woman fan, you need to get this book. It's really nice. I'm glad they did it for Wonder Woman. They really didn't do much for Batman. And Superman's anniversary book was Superman Unchained, even though it was a mini-series that took forever to come out because of Jim Lee. But beside the point, this Wonder Woman one-shot is really great. We didn't get it physically, but I would definitely recommend it. And finally, from myself, digitally from the big two, is Guardians of the Galaxy. I cannot remember what 13. Issue number 13. Thanks to Captain Marvel, the entire Guardians team is now over. Gamora beats the crap out of Captain Marvel because she wants Thanos. She finds out that Pete knew about it, that Captain Marvel told him and told him not to say anything. So she basically walks off on her own, and this is why the Guardians are stuck on Earth. They lost their ship, and now none of them are going to talk to each other anymore. Gamora goes her way. Oh God, what's his name? Drax finds out, he leaves and tells basically Pete to screw him, to go F himself in a nice way. And same thing with Rocket, who basically says he's on Gamora and Drax's side. Groot obviously is going to go with them, I'm guessing. And the whole team is now separated. So I don't know what's going to happen with Guardians of the Galaxy when they come back from all this. But thanks to Captain Marvel, she systematically destroyed the Guardians. All that's left is Pete and Shadowcat. And I think by the end of Civil War 2, especially after what we saw in this issue, which we'll get to, not only are the Guardians going to be gone, but I think that Shadowcat's going to be or Kitty Pryde is going to make a decision that's going to separate her and Pete as well. So Pete really screwed himself all around. He listened to Captain Marvel and lost his team. Now he's standing by Captain Marvel, and I think he's going to lose his girlfriend. He is going to literally systematically destroy himself. That's bad. Just to stand on Captain... So Captain Marvel destroyed the Guardians already. She's destroying Pete's relationship. I'm excited to see where Guardians are going to go after the whole Civil War 2 thing happens, because they're all trapped on Earth now.
Deadpool issue number 21. So this one says that it's
an issue 1 because it takes place after Civil War 2.
Right. And in this one, it's basically...
Can I see the cover a minute? Okay, talk.
Oh. Basically, in this one, like, it just sets up a point where Deadpool is going through these certain obstacle stuff, and it's where Madcap just drives him insane. Because he's actually the one that's part of Deadpool's mind. He also gets a little bit from S.H.I.E.L.D., talking about what his mission is doing there. Like, it was like all over the place a little bit, more or less. But in the end, it seems that Madcap got his way of seeing Deadpool dying in front of him. But it's, of course, it's probably just a whole act, because we know that Deadpool somehow is going to break the fourth wall and then say, oh, I wasn't dead, really. You never know. I reviewed this for Comic Frontline, and this is the Punisher issue number 1 annual.
It's an annual.
It's an annual based on Halloween, so to say. And I really enjoy this issue because the other guy, if I could remember his name.
The artwork's a bit sketchy, though.
Yeah, Mando. Yeah, Mando is the one that's on a mission to find out the killer of his father. So he's looking for Nicholas, and it's at the Institute of Arts where Kevin, a guy, is running it. And Kevin is the cousin of Nicholas, where we find out with the Punisher. We get backstory scenes of Mandu and why he's going after Nicholas. And as Punisher and Mandu encounter each other, of course the Punisher winds up killing Mandu and saying to Mandu, even though I told you these things, I'm not like you, but you gotta do what's right, like, of what your father would not want to see. For that reason. So, this is a very good annual for a Halloween special thing, although I don't know how that was Halloween, but okay.
And then the only Marvel book I have this week, but I did read Captain America Steve Rogers alongside this, and it ruins all the Captain America scenes in here because, again, it makes it look like Captain America is manipulating what's going on during Civil War II. So basically, Civil War II issue 6, Captain America, as much as you want to believe he's good in this book, I would recommend reading Captain America Steve Rogers just because, I'm going to fix the camera because I know it's a little high, just because this book proves that Captain America is screwing around with both sides of the field, basically putting Tony Stark in a mindset that he wants him in to cause whatever outcome is supposed to come out of Civil War. And Captain Marvel, at the beginning of the book, again, wants to arrest Spider-Man. Cap actually talks to Spider-Man and says, what do you want to do? He says, I want to go home. Captain America allows Thor to take Spider-Man home. S.H.I.E.L.D. says that everybody there that was against Captain Marvel is now under arrest. T'Challa is the one in this book that changes sides. He joins Iron Man and the others. He distracts them long enough for Doctor Strange to send them all away. Miles is having a hard time dealing with what he saw. Medusa's trying to figure out what's going on with Ulysses. You've got, like I said, you've got that moment where Pete stands by Captain Marvel, and you got Shadowcat that's kind of watching on and questioning everything. So there's where systematically, I believe, Captain Marvel is destroying Pete. Obviously, what happened with the Guardians happened directly after this moment. It happened after this. Right after that page. But then you've got the Avengers trying to figure out what's going on, but then you got the kids, Nova, what do you call it? Hawkeye, which is Kate Bishop, and Cyclops that want to go and help Miles. But Tony comes up with a plan and kind of sets it into motion. I love how everybody's still trying to coddle Captain Marvel, telling her she's right, which is Storm. Of all people, Storm is on her side, which I don't get in Jean. But anyway, it turns out Miles is in Washington, and he is going to prove that, I guess Tony's plan is to prove that what they saw in a vision can be faked, and Ulysses is basically wrong. Which is going to be cool, but again, this was supposed to be the penultimate issue. The next issue was supposed to be the last. Instead, the next issue is going to be the second to last. In December, because this is for October, by the way, everybody, remember, even though we're in November, because December, issue 8 is the final issue for Civil War 2. And then I will not be buying any more Marvel events until we get well past the X-Men stuff and all the other crazy monsters versus the Marvel Universe, whatever. Future Quest, issue number 6. Loving to death Future Quest. It's an amazing book. You got Ty, who is now the new Mytor, fighting with Hawkman against the Agents of Fear. We find out that Space Ghost is somewhere fighting off against Omicron, and Omicron tries to escape, but Space Ghost chase after him, literally grasping onto consciousness. Dr. Quest ends up getting kidnapped by Fear, and now it's going to be up to Birdman, Jan, and the rest of them to save Dr. Quest. And then we get the second and final part to the Impossibles, where they learn about how they got their powers, how it's all connected to Fear. They end up beating the Agent of Fear, and Cobalt ends up joining the team. That is the very abbreviated version of it. I am loving Future Quest. If you are not buying anything Hanna-Barbera, buy this. I'm honestly going to probably be dropping the Flintstones physically starting in January, but I will still be picking up Future Quest physically from now on. I was going to say for the month of January only, no, but permanently, because I love Future Quest. This is a really great book, and if you're a Hanna-Barbera fan and you grew up with the cartoons, whether it was your time or in my case when I used to watch the older cartoons on Cartoon Network or whatever, you'll love this book.
All right, the Hellblazer issue number 3, which is a book I did review for Comic Frontline, and the hole that John Constantine fell into.
This is all DC from this point on, by the way. And there's a lot of DC. We've got to make severe cuts soon with DC. Because there's just a lot of books.
So we find out the hole that he went into along with Swamp Thing and Mercury trying to help him find Abby in the Rot. And we also have Clarice, who joined up with the guy, I forgot what his name was, and he's not too happy with what she did with her mission, so she has a terrible ending. All works a little bit sketchy, in a good way though. So he talks to this guy, Map, about Clarice saying that there should be some that he should be afraid of, and something called, what was it called? The Djinn, which are known as genies, and these genies aren't things that just, wave their wands or their hands for wishes. It's something else. So, also, Mercury goes into the wormhole to save Abby from the Rot, and then Constantine meets up with the people who I'm guessing are the Djinns, known as genies. So
interesting stuff.
So yeah, it's going to be really interesting stuff. So it was a pretty good issue. I'll say that much for that. So we'll find out what happens there. Now, Batgirl issue number 4 is where Batgirl has to fight off against 2 people, whereas her friend or boyfriend, whatever, Kai, is on the other end where he's going to be in trouble. So she's fighting off against them, also trying to find out the symbol of the Japanese tattoo. Meanwhile, Kai gets beaten up really badly, so it's Batgirl's a little bit too late for that. She gets a little bit of help from a friend of hers. I can't remember what her name was. From work, I can't remember. Well, she gets a ticket to Shanghai, and what she wants to know is just about more about what Kai was actually working for, and we get a little bit more information about that. And then basically she just gives him a camera and just saying, you know, we can't be together, so you just gotta do things yourself, basically. So she goes to Shanghai to find out more information at Cram's school, and when she goes to Cram's school, let's just say the experiment turns out from bad to
worse.
Well, let's just say a lot worse from who she sees there. So Batgirl, Cram School, and all that other stuff. Oh my goodness, this is what I could say. Blue Beetle issue number 2. It was moderate. Not good, not bad.
I can see what book Mike is going to switch to digital by.
Yeah, because it's just basically, it introduces the Pazé, however you say their name, and then they give Blue Beetle just a little bit of a mission to go on, and the dialogue is just so heavy dialogue. And then there's this girl, Digital.
Jesus, that's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, that meets up with him and tries to flirt around with him. And he's playing dumb, like saying, so, like, are you trying to flirt me or something? And she just mind boggles him, this girl, to no end. And then they start to fight off against each other, where it winds up that actually, it was just a test of something. And then it just goes back to his family, where, you know, where he's trying to tell her about, you know, what he's been doing, like, with school and stuff like that. And in the end, he just says to his mother that he loves her because of, because you never know what could happen the day after or whichever day. So, a little bit confusing, but I'm going to see the next issue or 2 to see if I'm going to switch it to digital or not.
Vigilante Southland, issue 1 of 6. I didn't like the artwork. The story didn't interest me. I asked Mike if he wanted to try it. He's trying way too many books. I'm reading a lot of books. From DCBS, we still will be getting this for 2 more issues, but as of the month of January, I can guarantee you we will not have this. I'm not a fan of the dark artwork. I'm not a fan, really, of the story. I'll show you guys some artwork real quick. It didn't interest me. I read the first 2 pages and then I started skimming around, and by the time I got to the end I was like, I don't really care what happens next. I really just didn't. There was nothing that held me with this book. I guess it's because, you know, I'm reading so much DC right now that if it's not something that's super connected with DC Comics specifically, and I'm just buying a mini for a mini, this felt like I was reading an indie book. It felt like I just grabbed the book, The Vigilante, or Vigilante Southland, from any company, name blank company, and it just had nothing to do with anything, in my opinion, and in the end, it's not a book I enjoyed. You might like it. I personally did not, so I won't be talking about, we won't be continuing Vigilante as a miniseries. However, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, as my thing dings. I really enjoyed Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. You have Hal Jordan versus Sinestro with gorgeous artwork. some of the best artwork I've ever seen. I gotta give props to Rob Vendetti. He's doing an amazing job with this book. Saranic ends up freeing everybody who is held captive by the Fear Machine. And as a matter of fact, thanks to Guy Gardner continually screaming out the Green Lantern oath, all the people that are in the Fear Machine start screaming out that, basically the Green Lanterns get put back on that pedestal in this issue, and the Yellow Lantern Corps, the Sinestro Corps, kind of gets knocked down a bit. There was a really great knockdown, blowout fight between Hal Jordan and Sinestro. Hal Jordan reveals that Sinestro may have parallax, but he has something even deeper, and he's giving the Sector Zero back to the Green Light one way or another. There's a humongous explosion. The Corps never makes it, by the way. They literally get to like the galaxy over, and that's where Saranic meets with the other Green Lanterns. But it's kind of funny that Hal Jordan and John never saw each other. The next issue goes into the next story arc, which I believe involves Lar Fleas capturing both Sinestro and Hal Jordan, or the Green Lantern. I don't know how it's going to go, but it was really interesting how this first arc ended, and I thought it was really good. Basically, the Sinestro Corps was put down. Warworld was destroyed, that I do know, and now it's going to be up to the Green Lanterns to patrol or take care of the universe again. Just as I'm ready to drop this book, it gets interesting to the point where I might be sticking around a little bit longer. Now, Suicide Squad issue number 5. Boomerang is dead, so somebody has to take Boomerang's place. So the Suicide Squad now has the Phantom Zone Sphere, and inside it is Zod. So they basically knock Zod into a deep, deep sleep using red, light and to take away his powers, and enough sedative to knock out 3 cities combined. Really, nothing big happens in this book. We find out that June is connected. She has a connection with Killer Croc. Killer Croc likes June, who's the Enchantress. Hack and Harley don't get along because Harley thinks Hack's too young and she doesn't really understand what she's getting herself into. And there's something going on with Hack. And they want to put Zod on the Suicide Squad, and Flag isn't too happy about that and kind of gets a little crazy by the end of this issue. And then the secondary story is Hack's backstory this time. So you get all about Hack and basically why she's connected, how she is now part of the Suicide Squad. So because Zod might be joining the Suicide Squad, I might be holding on to this. Maybe not physically, but I definitely will continue reading it digitally possibly, or maybe I will continue it physically. It all depends on what comes out. You guys will know in January what stays physical, what goes digital, and what goes bye-bye. That's all I have to say. I don't want to give too much away just yet, as 2017 hasn't even gotten close yet. I mean, it's close, but not super close. Detective Comics 943. Spoiler is still dealing with Tim's death. You've got a new group of people called the... Well, you know what? I'll go to the last page instead. Called the Victim Syndicate. They're the new, I guess, problem that needs to be solved in Detective. You have Batwoman, who's trying to find out more information because these people ended up attacking Wayne Corps. You've got Batman, who is still dealing with Tim's death. You've got Harper in the book, who is helping Stephanie out with Tim's death. You've got a really cool thing here with Clayface and Cassandra, aka Orphan. He actually is able to keep his form thanks to this suit until he's in a simulation with the biggest, baddest villain, which turns out to be himself, and it kind of destroys him a bit. He's like, is that really what I am, a monster? And I love how Cassandra's like, not anymore, that's not you anymore. Pardon the beeping. And then you got Bruce and Cassandra, I forgot what it was. The place that Tim built wasn't finished. So what happens is they need somebody who's good at tech and is able to finish off where Tim left off. And who does he go to? None other than Luke Fox, a.k.a. the previous Batwing, who runs his own company. He has his own tech and everything connected to it. And as Batman's about to approach Luke, or they're talking, they get attacked by, like I showed you guys on the last page, the Victim Syndicate, who are there for revenge, and we'll find out what revenge that is next time. I really am enjoying Detective Comics, and it's going to be interesting to see if Batwing accepts Batman's offer to finish where Tim left off as far as the tech stuff in the, I forgot what they called it, the nest, so to speak. Give me a second to check that.
Deathstroke issue number 5, which is a comic that I did review on Comic Frontline. And thinking I was going to be Deathstroke versus Batman. Apparently, as a question mark, they were wrong because it seems that Avenger wants to, she offers help to Batman to help find his son, and then as he says no, he gets more convinced that, this is my son we're talking about, so they're going to help him. Meanwhile, I got Damian Wayne, who talks with Deathstroke, and he has, nice little things he says about him and knows about him as well. And then we have Batman, who is trying to snap Avenger out, saying, Deathstroke's not really that good of a person and everything, and as they were going on the mission, I like how he's a role model, saying, no, we don't kill people, because she's known to kill a lot of people. And Batman was there in time to save Damian from drowning, and we find out that Deathstroke was the faker, because the real Deathstroke went after Rose, who was known as Avenger, her boyfriend, who is known as the Assassin, because that's who they're going after. Or that's who Deathstroke's going after, the Assassin. And that's to be continued next issue. So this is actually picking up in a more positive way. I'm really glad that it's actually picking up, because I want to see what's going to happen next. And hope it doesn't go down that downward slope. But it's a really good issue.
Say what you want. Wonder Woman Year 1, I know a lot of people like that more than the current day stuff, but Wonder Woman issue 9 continues to be the reason why I like the current day Wonder Woman a bit more than the Year 1 Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman comes back, Steve Trevor comes back with the entity contained in that flower. You've got Wonder Woman who's now helping Barbara and get back into, her human persona, because she's no longer Cheetah. But we find out that there's another person who's working against Wonder Woman and the others, and she wants to get, I cannot say his name. If you can, congratulations, but the name is right there. Uzukura. She wants to take him and bring him back, which means the curse. Urzakura Jaga.
Uzurkataga.
Whatever. And bring him back, and that means the curse for Barbara Ann will happen again, meaning she'll become Cheetah again. And they want to basically gain control over Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman's there as Barbara Ann is trying to figure out where Themyscira is. She asks if she's needed. She says no. Why? Because it turns out the best artwork happened at the end of this book, that she had a date with Steve Trevor. The best dialogue and the best fix-up ever, where basically they finally just sit down and talk about, why was it, Steve doesn't say it, Wonder Woman says it to him, you want to know why it was him and not you. And she's like, I thought about that every single, I've also wondered the same. She said, I'm good at loving, but I'm not as good at romance. And I guess in the end, he just basically says, whatever you do, I'll always be there for you. And, well, I think basically that page says it all. I think Wonder Woman and Trevor finally got back together. And then Barbara Ann finds something out about Themyscira. And we might be seeing something. And we might be seeing Wonder Woman's mother back. Because we all know in the New 52, her mother was turned to stone and then destroyed. So this is going to be very interesting to see where this goes next month. Because I say next month because the next issue, which is issue 10, is going back to the Year 1 stuff. And we won't be seeing this until issue 11. I really love this issue. Greg Rucka fixed everything that was destroyed with Steve Trevor and, became Superman and Wonder Woman. I'm glad that I love this issue a lot. I love the artwork. Story was really great as well. The Flash issue 9, which actually happens after not only Titans issue 4, but issue 5, because this takes place after. So this kind of spoils, and I'm warning you now, if you are reading Titans and you don't want any spoilers, hold off on reading this issue of Flash. It doesn't matter, it's a standalone story. Hold off on it until after next month's Kadabra issue. Although I'm pretty sure you all know that Wally's going to survive the ordeal with Kadabra. He's not going to disappear back into the Speed Force. So basically, Flash and Kid Flash, Wally, New 52, are dealing with a problem on a bridge. There's an explosion, and then the original Wally, the pre-New 52 Wally, shows up to help things out. Him and New 52 Wally shake hands. Flash gets more visions. And apparently, something takes over Flash's body and he starts saying things that he doesn't mean, but he tells New 52 Wally that Daniel West is not his uncle, it's really his father. And then he kind of loses himself to the Speed Force, and then New 52 Wally and old Wally reach in and bring him back. Artwork is a bit cartoony for me, or a bit sketchy for me, but what can you say? But when Flash kind of comes back to his senses, Wally's like, so tell me, is Daniel West really my father? And he says, yes, I didn't mean that, but it's true. Wally ends up running off, and then later on in the day you got pre-New 52 Wally kind of being there for his alternate self. And he never ends up telling New 52 Wally who he really is, because I guess that would kind of, I don't know, I guess he's afraid of how Wally would react to that. Got a nice splash page here where basically Wally from the pre-New 52 says, we're family. And then you got Barry, who at the end of this book, and this is your spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, fast forward a bit till I get to Titan, says that Kadabra may have made everybody forget about you, but that still doesn't answer the years that we forgot, or the things that we forgot. That person's still out there. And for those of you who are waiting, you know, in Batman we got to see Saturn Girl in Arkham. In Flash, we got to see the helmet from the Flash from the JSA. So we're getting hints in a lot of books, and we are not too far into the Rebirth series. I mean, Rebirth just happened well over about a half a year ago. We still got a year and a half before this big event happens, and things are being dropped like crazy. You've got the Legion, you've got Justice Society. There's some crazy stuff going on. I swear to God, I'm praying that this event that DC is building up to is something that will bring back the original DC universe. Keep the new fans, keep the old fans, and everybody wins in the end. That would make me happy. Now, as far as Titans go, you've got Abracadabra, who is now holding Linda hostage, and Linda doesn't know Wally yet. And basically, because of that, all of the Flashes have an anchor, and that's what keeps them anchored to their world, so they can kind of go beyond, above and beyond, lose themselves, and then have something to come back to, like a person to come back to. And because Linda doesn't know Wally yet, Kadabra is basically going to make Wally push himself far into the Speed Force, basically causing Wally, to lose himself again and get trapped back out in the Speed Force. And the Titans they don't get separated. They split up to try to find Linda. In pairs of two. It turns out everybody gets in trouble except for Wally, who comes face to face with Kadabra, and Abracadabra basically shows that everybody's in a precarious predicament, including Linda, and he's going to have to use all of his Speed Force in order to save all of them at once. So basically, Kadabra's trying to prevent, he's from the future, he's trying to prevent Wally from sticking around long enough to get back together with Linda, from stopping him in the future and basically saving, or we don't know exactly what Kadabra's talking about, but basically Kadabra's trying to be the ultimate winner, because in the end, ultimately, Wally beats Abracadabra. That's all we know. So I'm looking forward, and I love how Abracadabra kind of admits to Linda that Wally is from an alternate world where him and Linda were together. So that's dumb, because now he kind of opened the door to Linda, where now and she is going to survive, Either she's going to want to stay 50 feet away from Wally because she doesn't want to be involved in all the shit that just happened in this story arc, or it's going to lead her to questioning this Wally and possibly get them together quicker. Who knows? But I'm liking how Titans right now is very out there as far as, leading into this event, and very, very heavy on Wally. I'm hoping after this story arc, though, it becomes a team book and less focusing on Wally as the main character. Action Comics 966 continues to prove why I love Superman. Action Comics was amazing this week. This week, you have great artwork. Oh my god, the artwork in this book is just amazing. Every time I read Action, I love the artwork. You got Clark that's training John at the beginning of the book. John's learning telescopic vision. But we also find out that John has a lot more speed than Superman. Like, he is super fast. Like, he beats Superman twice over. They have a race home, and John is literally standing in the kitchen while Superman is just arriving. He's like, how did you get so fast? And he's like, I don't know. I think this is a key to something with John in the future, but Lois is face-to-face, like what we saw in the last issue with Lana, who wants to know who she is, and she actually ends up calling Clark, who shows up, and there's basically not an altercation, but Lana basically reveals to Lois and Clark that her and Lois, New 52 Lois, were hit with Superman's solar, his dying explosion. They both got superpowers, but that Lois Lane ended up dying. And that's why Lois got the message, because if she died, the letter was supposed to be mailed, and the letter led her to the computer, which was Lois, New 52 Lois, reaching out to pre-New 52 Lois, begging her to take over from where she left off, because there are a lot of people that depend on her, and she doesn't want, what was the word she doesn't want them to suffer because she's gone. So she's like, you can prevent that because you're me. We both think the same way, we both are the same way. Please take over for me now that I'm gone. So Lois ends up making the ultimate choice. Well, Clark, of course, offers to help Lana figure a cure out before she dies. But Lois ends up making the ultimate choice, which, this was the best page in the book, because this proves how deep the relationship between... I'm glad that DC did what Marvel wasn't willing to do. DC separated Lois and Clark with with New 52, but then realizing they made the realizing they made the mistake not 5 years later, they brought back that very same couple, and this book proves why Lois and Clark just belong. That's why Superman and Lois Lane will always belong together. When Lois dies, like in Kingdom Come, that's when Wonder Woman comes in. Years later, when they're older, and obviously Superman and Wonder Woman are immortal. That's when their relationship should, if ever, happen. But Lois and Clark, as long as Lois Lane is alive, there should always be a Lois and Clark thing. And Lois, like I said, ultimately ends up going back to work. And we find out that there's a new villain that it looks like he's going to be going after Superman in the next issue. But one thing I'd like to see, which I don't know if Dan Jurgens, who's writing Action Comics, is going to be willing to do, is, number one, we all know that New 52 Lois had a boyfriend. It would be interesting if they brought the boyfriend in at some point to see Lois at work. It would be interesting if Sam Lane came. And remember, Lois and Clark, this Lois, the New 52 Lois, is not married. Even though the pre-New 52 Lois is married to Clark, officially they're not married. The Smiths are married, the names they took up. But now that Lois is back to being Lois Lane, if Clark ever comes back, if the human Clark Kent either leaves or dies or turns out to be somebody else, and Clark comes back to work, it would be interesting to see how Lois and Clark, A, explain the sun, if ever, or B, explain their marriage, or if they have to get remarried. I would like to see that problem, because we got 2 years. We have 2 years before this whole event is supposed to happen. That leaves plenty of time for Lois and to find an easy way to break up with her New 52 Lois's boyfriend, and it leaves a lot of time for them to figure out how they're going to bring about the marriage of Clark and Lois again, if at all, or if we're just I don't want them to take the easy way out and just it's never touched on, and we just continue forward like life as usual.
Teen Titans issue number 1.
You really have nothing to say to that.
I'm tired, man. Yeah, the Teen Titans, I agree. I mean, Superman is, I'm just glad that they actually fixed it. So, in Teen Titans, issue number 1, Damian is celebrating his 13th birthday, and we're getting the part of why he actually kidnapped the other people to join Teen Titans. Like, he didn't have friends or anything, like, all his life, so the only best thing that he could do is to capture them, but also it was to test them to see their powers, like saying together we're strong, and he's making a super team, but he wants to call like the new Teen Titans, and they're like saying, well, you should have asked us first before just taking us out like that, but he's like saying, I didn't have the life I lived except with Goliath, but he wanted to make it the best, and he realized just to move forward and that they could do better than before. And he says that you should join, because if not, they'll all be dead, because they're all targeted by somebody. And we find out that that target that someone is doing it to is Ra's al Ghul and the team called, I'm guessing, Hunted? Or if you know these people? Well, yeah, it's basically these
That
guys.
looks like the girl from... That could be the girl from Robin, Son of Batman. I wonder if that's Nobody. The girl, Nobody. Maya.
Like, that's the team that is going to go after the Titans with Ra's al Ghul. I mean, Ra's al Ghul had to be in because he's the biggest villain of Batman next to the Joker. But it picked up very well. And we actually finally got the understanding of why Damian did what he did. And happy 13th birthday to him.
Batman Beyond issue number 1. They should just have called this issue number 2 because it continues directly after the one-shot. I don't know why they did that. I mean, usually one-shots are supposed to set things up and then issue 1 is supposed to move forward. The one-shot ended and the issue number 1 took over right from where that left off. You've got the Joker, or I forgot what his name is, Carter, who's bringing back the original Joker and wants to turn Gotham into Jokeropolis or whatever. Oh, what was it? I want to make sure Jokeropolis or whatever he wanted to call it. But he basically wanted to make it Joker Town. You've got Terry's brother who brings Max to the Batcave to help Terry out. You got Terry who's been beaten to within an inch of his life. Free, he ends up beating the Bane Joker, but barely because he's been out for a while. He was under somebody else's control, and I like how Max explains, he's been under somebody else's control. He's out of practice. He's out of, he's not like the way he was when he was Batman. He needs to get back into a rhythm. And Terry ends up getting overwhelmed by a bunch of Jokers and beaten up pretty badly because of it. So he ends up running away because he has to. But yeah, he's overwhelmed and out of practice, so he can't handle himself right now. He needs to get back into the rhythm, back into practice. So Terry decides, okay, I can't do this as Batman. And his brother thinks he's quitting as Batman. He's like, no, I'm not quitting as Batman, but I learned to fight them. If you can't beat them, well, join them. So Terry's going to go undercover as a Joker. And I don't know where this story's going, but Bruce Wayne is dead because apparently Future's End did happen. And because of what happened in Future's End, we all know that Bruce died. So it's going to be interesting to see where Batman Beyond goes. But I cannot lie, I'm almost sure I'm going to move this to a digital pile starting in January. Because as the story is interesting, it is taking place still after Future's End, which I don't think anybody really enjoyed. Am I glad Terry's back as Batman? Yes. He's out of practice. I wish Bruce was back, so it doesn't feel like Batman Beyond because Bruce is dead, and it's like the whole series took a step forward and changed. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. I did not like Tim Drake as Batman Beyond, and we all know that Tim Drake is still in the Beyond universe somewhere. So I don't know how I feel about that either. But either way, I'm not really sure where we're going to go with Batman Beyond yet. We'll wait and see. Obviously, physically, I will be getting Batman Beyond until December. So I have till December to figure out if I'm going to get it physically, digitally, or drop it completely. I mean, maybe the story will tank. You never know. Have to wait and see. It was an interesting first issue, though. But I have to give my favorite issue this week from DC Comics to Superman, to Titans and Flash. I really like those. And Wonder Woman. Those are definitely Superman, Titans, Flash, Wonder Woman. Those are my top 4. And then I'm trying to think of a fifth one, if I had a fifth one. I really enjoyed Birthright, so we could say Birthright is there's my top 5, which you guys missed because we weren't on Frontline Live. I'm sure if I sat down and really looked at my books, I could definitively say a little bit more, but I can guarantee you guys Action Comics is my number 1 pick of the week. I recommend it highly. Vigilante, I would recommend looking at it in the comic store before buying it. TMNT Universe, again, $5 for a book that is under par from the regular series. I would recommend only for TMNT fans. If you're not a fan of TMNT and you're casual, this is a book you might want to sit out of. Because for $5, unless they bring the price down, it just doesn't feel like it's worth it. And the secondary story is not that good. So, I like that. Maybe starting next year we'll do a little sum up at the end. We'll get like all of our bullet points for the books. Maybe bring that back again. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, but till next time, that's it for this video. So as always, guys, I'm Chris and he's Mike. We are Comic Frontline, your number 1 source for comic-related news, reviews, and a whole bunch more. If you haven't subscribed, hopefully you will. This way we're in your sub box and you won't miss out on a single video. Videos are coming up each and every day. Don't forget to also check out my channel. My channel has officially changed. So if you want to check that out, go check out Dark Avenger C86. My channel is moving in a completely new direction because all of my main series and all the comic book or comic related stuff I do is now officially and exclusively only on Comic Frontline. So if you'd like to see what's going to happen next, what the next phase of my channel is, youtube.com/DarkAvengerC86. And you can check out the first video. It's up now. I'm working on the second video as we speak. Maybe the second video will be up by Saturday. Which, as I mentioned in the first video, I'll spoil it here, is about the PlayStation VR. So, yes. Other than that, that's it, guys. And if you want more Comic Frontline goodness, go check out ComicFrontline.com. Lots and lots of really great stuff posted on there. The videos and some written stuff all around. We got lots of great stuff with Comic Frontline. I'm really looking forward to 2017. Hey, the awards are going to be coming up soon.
Yeah.
The 2016 Frontline Awards. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to. We had some really great moments at the beginning of 2016 that I think I already know. There's a few things. There's definitely a few.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then, again, that's not now, that's later. Take care, everybody. Keep reading, keep collecting. We pray that we won't have too many books and we'll be able to get you guys a review as soon as possible. Till next time, guys. Take care.
Later, everybody.